Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Recess. Mitchell Lee, Connor Vandermark, Nick Izzo, and Tommy Grant here with you. And guys, we're getting to the nitty gritty. It's Thanksgiving week. The playoff machines are they're in full gear on ESPN. We've got the in the hunt graphics, and if your team isn't in that graphic, then you've probably got the mock drafts going. It's a fun time, unless it's not. I don't think it is. We'll get into that later. How we doing?
We don't think it is.
I think it is.
Oh, shut up, you.
My Dolphins are sitting pretty right now.
I mean,
Well,
we can
do I
dive
think
into
that-
that if you want.
Do I think they're going to make it very far in the playoffs? No. But I'll be happy just the fact that they make it there.
That's the thing. There's a lot of Dolphins fans out there that think that this is a Super Bowl team,
Oh God, no.
and I just think that this is a team that has one and done written all over it, unless. And hey, Tyreek Hill's been playing at such a level that maybe he can drag a team a round or two. Sometimes a receiver or a running back. We saw with Derrick Henry a few years ago, where he was just on such a tear that he made it through Brady and he made it through Lamar Jackson in his MVP season. So it's not unheard of, but at the same time, Tua's had too many of these games where it's just like, hey, do you remember the color of the jersey that you're supposed to be throwing the ball to? And he had a lot of plays against the Raiders where it was just ugly.
I was unable to watch the game, but I watched the highlights, and I don't know what's going on with him. He was doing
Defense
good
looks better.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why I said a while ago. The Dolphins have that hit or miss. Their offense is great and their defense sucks, or their defense is great and their offense sucks. Right now, we're in that weird balance where they're both just mediocre, and they just kind of switch off who's good at which game.
Getting Jalen Ramsey back definitely helped. I mean, I think he had 2 interceptions in that game. One that basically sealed it for the Raiders, and the other, or for the Dolphins, and the other one was an end zone interception. So whenever you can make a play in the red zone, that's huge.
Yeah.
And he was arguably the best non-Tyreek player on the field.
I'm surprised the Dolphins didn't actually win by more, to be honest, against the Raiders.
Yeah, well, whenever they got in, they had to kick 2 field goals in the third quarter. So they were never really able to get that touchdown to put them ahead multiple possessions. It was always a one possession game throughout. The Dolphins just kind of lacked that like last punch that you need, and Jalen Ramsey kind of had to give it to him at the end there.
I gotta say, with Achane going down, because this was his first game back too, and no, as someone who plays fantasy, I was hoping in one of my leagues that was like, oh, he's go at least get like, if he got half the production he was getting, I would have been happy. But like, it was only like one drive he had, and he re-injured that knee. I heard that it's not surgery like needed for it, which is good for him. But like, he was such an explosive player for them, and like running the ball for them, like they didn't really nothing. I remember correctly, like
They didn't crack 100 yards on the ground, and they didn't. Well, Achane gives them that extra. I mean, Mostert's a fast running back for sure, but Achane has that like anytime I touch this, I could go 80 yards ability that a lot of other players in the Dolphins have, but not necessarily out of the backfield. So it's one more thing for a defense to have to game plan for.
It's that explosiveness.
Yeah,
I think it begs the question too of whether or not he came back too early, because he went out pretty early. I didn't see the exact play that when he re-injured, but for him to go out so early in the game, I don't know. It seems like just maybe he came back a little too early.
Well, he might have been better to keep him and say, hey, we got a short week coming up. Let's keep you out for this game, bring you back on Friday, so that after you come back, you've got a long week to recover.
Yeah, I think
that's very true for him.
That game would have been better.
Do we want to get into the New York teams? Because it's like we have to. Yes. But at the same time, it's like I want to talk about the teams that matter.
I'll start with Nick first. I have one question for Nick.
Sure.
Were you happy that the Giants won?
Yeah, if anything, Nick, you should be happy this week.
I wouldn't be.
It's mixed feelings.
It was a little light of hope.
It's mixed feelings.
I'd be all in on the tank for Caleb or Drake. They're both good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Really, another screen to Julio?
A tanker idea.
Sorry, Eagles. We should let people know that we are watching the conclusion of the Eagles-Chiefs game while this is going on. Probably the two best teams
the Super Bowl
in the National Football League. Yeah, two best teams in the NFL right now. Super Bowl rematch. So if any of us suddenly start bursting out into celebration or even just mention something, that's probably what that was.
Could this be the foreshadowing of what's to come in about a month and a half? 2 months?
I think it certainly looks a lot better for the Chiefs right now, given the state of the AFC that we will get to.
Yes.
But yeah, as far as the Giants go, hey, DeVito looked good. Saquon made explosive plays. DeVito barely survived because they sacked him 7 times in the first quarter alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was
it was
I think 5.
Yeah, it was a rough day for him as far as just the punishment that he took. But, he gets to go home and have mom's spaghetti.
That's right.
And just enjoy a day as the winning quarterback.
His bed was already made for him, too.
His bed was already made, and he gets to go lie in it now.
Good old Italian boy.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
It's mixed feelings because obviously, as a fan of the team, I'm happy they won. I'm not really behind tanking that much. I think it just yes, it might help in the long run, but you never know what the draft pick is going to end up being anyway. So I think
that's true.
I think as just wanting to see a good football game, they did well, and then traditionally they have done well against the Commanders, I have to say. So it was pleasant to see, but is he the answer? I mean, there's no way to even tell. There's no way I can even gather an opinion on that. You have to give him pretty much a lot more games, and then you'll see. But for now, it was a good game.
Nice throw by Hurts.
Yeah, Hurts right down the sideline to Devontae Smith, and they're gonna about to do the brotherly shove that we all love.
Yeah, baby.
Get me my Hurts fantasy points.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I think that, by the way, the Giants, one thing that I really enjoyed watching, I wanted the Jets to take Kayvon Thibodeau in the draft. Now, granted, out of all the things to complain about the Jets, the first round of the 2022 NFL draft is nowhere near the list, because when you get Sauce, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, that's just tremendous, and you love it. But Kayvon Thibodeau is my favorite player in that draft, and he has been incredible for them. You couldn't turn on that game without seeing Kayvon Thibodeau just in the backfield make it a play.
That's right.
And he's been great for them.
Yeah, and it's funny too because the New York media for 2 weeks called him oh, is he a bust? Is he really this? Is he really that? And I kind of just had a small chuckle because it's look, if he's not getting, he doesn't have to get a sack every play. You just draw a double team and then somebody else can come in. It's very plausible. It happens all the time. So it for the media to call him a bust, I was just wow, a little quick on the trigger, but okay. Yeah, he had a monster game though.
All right, Connor.
Yeah.
Must we?
Yeah.
We are now in Boyle country. The Jets have gone and benched Zach Wilson for the second, maybe even third straight year, if you really want to consider rookie year. They kind of sat him down for maybe a little longer to recover from an injury, to just kind of watch what Mike White was doing, watch what Josh Johnson was doing, or Joe Flacco, or Chris Streveler, or Tim Boyle, or however, all these people that have come in for Zach Wilson, because this dude is just one of the biggest busts in the history of the National Football League. It's called what it is. Now, the offensive line is a giant mess because everyone's getting hurt all the time. Mekhi Becton somehow was the one guy that hadn't been hurt, or one of the two guys that hadn't been hurt up to this point. He gets hurt. Luckily, it doesn't seem like a major injury, but he'll probably miss a couple weeks. And now we've got Tim Boyle, who has never had a positive touchdown to interception ratio on any level of football. I don't even know how he got into the National Football League to begin with, if I'm going to be completely honest. But he's there. And so now the Jets have to play the Dolphins, and I will be 100% honest. I'm done with this year, man. I'm done with it.
You and me both.
I'm in the tank. Aaron Rodgers, take your time. Don't worry about it. Take the spring. Just make sure that you're ready for whatever mini camp, training camp
next season. Maybe he'll make it game 2.
No, he'll be back for next year. I'm more worried about that. I just don't want him playing, and I don't think he will. If we're like 4-11, don't take the field. If we're 5-10, man, there's no point.
All the essential oils he's going to take is not going to help him.
No, I don't care what dolphin he listens to having sex. It's not worth it.
I don't know, man. That's a very therapeutic sound.
What?
I can definitely see Aaron Rodgers being part of an MLM pyramid scheme.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I can see him like giving the speeches. Yeah. Yeah. Are you an advocate of any firings right now? Not right now, but at the end of the season.
Are we talking just Jets or in general?
Saleh, Hackett, Douglas.
I would say, I think Saleh should
Hackett's tied to Rodgers.
Yeah, Hackett's tied to Rodgers, and Rodgers still been defending him, as I've been seeing in the media with his the quotes. I think Saleh will have a short leash, and if they don't start well next year, because I'm assuming, like, let's say they pick what's sitting right now around pick 10 right now for the draft.
Yeah, 10, 11, something like that.
Projected draft order, but you're hoping to get something because their defense is fantastic, and I expect them to be that way again next year. So yeah, they're projected as 10th right now. So they according to ESPN, they have a just under 50% chance to earn a top 10 pick. So I don't know when this was. It's a little outdated, but let's say this is from last week. So we're just going with the numbers they have for now. So with that being said, they're going to draft some offensive weapon or even a actual good tackle. That'd be great to have.
I like our offensive line. It's just never healthy.
It's just never healthy. It really is. But that assurance would help. But I think Saleh should have one more go, because I think this is his big thing was a defensive coach. No, remember correctly with Saleh with the 49ers. No, that was his thing, his bread and butter, and their defenses look great. And again, Hackett's tied to Rodgers, so this is Rodgers' last year in his contract with the Jets this upcoming year. So if Rodgers sucks, then Hackett gets the boot as well. But No, the way I'm seeing it right now is go with a fresh slate next year and run it again and try to get a piece or two where you can try to be upgrade some position of need that will make them into a more of a threat than they were last year. Or this the year, that is.
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm indifferent because clearly I'm not, but I just the right decision hasn't necessarily jumped up and bit me on the nose just yet. I don't really I'm just tired of hearing the same things, and I'm tired of the same things happening. I mean, this year is the same thing as last year. It just is what it is. It's the same thing. We're having this conversation just a month earlier than we had it last year, maybe a few weeks earlier, but we're having it, and it sucks. But and I do think that a lot of that does come down to coaching. You had to know that there was going to be. I put more of it on the GM.
No, yeah, the GM, yeah, definitely.
I know that Rodgers wanted Lazard, but the receiving core is just so bad. I'm not putting the offensive line on Douglas because, good Lord, everyone's hurt. But the receiving core is just unplayable outside of Garrett Wilson.
That is completely true. And I think when it comes to Saleh is that like he was in a tough position where like if you try to trade for a quarterback, you can't promise him the future because of the fact that you still have Aaron Rodgers sitting there in the wings injured.
Yeah.
You have Zach Wilson, who he quote unquote has the pedigree of being a second overall pick. And does he deserve it?
He's
oh yeah. I'm saying as in when Rodgers got injured, we're saying week 3, week 4. Okay. So he had the pedigree. It's like I was like, okay, run it back with him. But there's a point where it's like, no, when the Jets are such like, what is it? It was 40 drives until it took the Jets to score another touchdown. 41. That is like it should have went that far.
Embarrassing.
Like if it hit like 30, then you're like, okay, screw it, we gotta change it up because that is that's atrocious. Like even teams like the Patriots can score touchdowns, and
even teams like the Giants that have no offensive line and Tommy DeVito,
just like
he threw 3 touchdowns.
Literally,
he threw 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Even
he's thrown more touchdowns this year than Zach Wilson has.
He's thrown as many multi-game like touchdowns as like Daniel Jones probably in the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like in all fairness, the reason why we're in games is that because our defense actually shows up. Like, and that's sad. That is so sad. The last touchdown we scored was the Giant game,
which you would even lucky that there was a win. Like, to be honest,
yeah.
I mean,
like that's when you're struggling against the Giants, when they're going through it, like,
and they don't have a game plan for Tommy DeVito. It wasn't like the Commanders where it's like, all right, we've kind of DeVito's gotten all the reps.
And things like even when they are like winning games, they're winning games with 1 touchdown only in the game. Like that's unacceptable for a team that wants to be a playoff bound team. Yeah, defense wins championships, but offense wins games, and you got to win the games to even get to the playoffs first. Like, it's unacceptable. So the point I was getting to before, though, like Saleh was in a tough position, and I understand trying to back his guy, but at the same time, there's a point in time like, what's the other options we have? Screw it, because at this point, like I saw the reports coming today where Wilson's the 3rd string quarterback now, going into Friday night,
just like last year.
Like you're behind Trevor Siemian as well. Like, ugh.
Who should be starting?
Honestly, who is this Boyle guy? I had never heard of him until yesterday.
Siemian's probably the best starter that you would have at this moment.
Yep, I agree.
At this given moment.
I would like to start talking about some teams that actually matter.
Yeah, let's talk about some good teams because I don't want to ruin our listeners' sad, mopey talk about this garbage.
Although we are going to kind of stay in the mud for a little bit because we're going to talk about the AFC North. And
the
every
AFC
team
North's
in the
fun,
AFC
though.
North matters. Is it? Because
I wanted to talk about the AFC North today. Actually,
the Burr thing hurts. I am very sad.
The Bengals are done. Bengals, you can go ahead and move them off of the in the hunt graphic. I know technically they are in the hunt, but you can move them out.
Yeah,
the Ravens are The Ravens are legit. They're probably the biggest AFC contender in competition with the Chiefs. And then the Steelers and Browns are just, I don't even know what to call them because defensively they're very good. But their quarterback play, and the Browns, it makes sense. Watson's hurt, and you're playing a 4th-round rookie. The Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett in the 1st round, and it's like watching Zach Wilson, where it's just like, I don't know what sport you're playing, bud, but you're sending football back.
But the thing is, like, at least the Browns can score touchdowns. That's the funny thing.
I can't put Kenny Pickett in the same category as Zach Wilson. Not for nothing.
I can. I can. But their defense, the Steelers' defense is good in a very different way than the Jets because the Steelers. I think Pickett's in the same league. I think
he's in like the league above, but I don't think he's in the same. I don't know. I've seen him actually move an offense before.
Do we think the Steelers and Browns make the playoffs? Because I think the Browns will end up making it.
I think the Browns.
I don't want the Steelers to make it, but their schedule is rough.
They can definitely go the distance as far as the offense goes. I didn't see anything phenomenal out of this week's performance from them that says that they can take on the other teams. Dolphins, they might be able to take. I don't know. But
you need to listen to the Steelers schedule. Okay, are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
Shoot.
The Jake Browning Bengals, Cardinals, Patriots, Colts, Bengals, Seahawks, Ravens.
Wow.
So everybody besides the Ravens is kind of favorable.
Yeah. And well, they have to go to Seattle.
But still, like, but at that point, then they win, excluding Seahawks, Ravens. So I think Seahawks are an okay team, but no, we'll see what happens with the injuries with Geno and Kenneth Walker.
If they win all of those games, that would except for the last two, they'd be 11.
They're definitely winning the Patriots game because the Patriots just forgot to show up this season.
But there's like Cardinals, Cardinals a coin flip. Patriots, they can win. Colts probably win. Bengals, they'll probably win one of the 2 games. So that's another 3 wins right there. And that puts them at 9 wins already. And then steal one between the Ravens, Seahawks, and possibly the Bengals win. Like, that's 10 wins. Like, that's a playoff team. At least in the AFC, that will be.
Mike Tomlin, man. That is
he's a damn good coach. How long has he been coaching that team for now? Like, it's been like
since 2006.
I was about to say 10 years. So 7 years.
He's the second longest tenured coach in the NFL besides Belichick.
Like,
honestly, Belichick gets the can this year.
I was about to ask, do you think he's going to retire or be pushed out after this season? Yeah.
I think it will be a retirement, quote unquote. It's pretty much going to be a, hey, you've been our guy. You've done great things for us. Please leave, but we won't say that we fired you. It'll be a mutual parting of ways, a retirement of sorts. And wow, Travis Kelce, rough game for you tonight, bud. Fumble, and then he just dropped the pass on 3rd down.
So I heard this. So I, being a fantasy football idiot, and they brought it up on the podcast that I listened to, and one thing that's been toting around is that the Chargers might be a destination for him after this year. If he leaves the Patriots and
I've heard Chargers. I've also heard Commanders.
But the Chargers make sense to me because of the fact that they have a
Belichick cares about ownership, and Spanos. That's why he left the Jets. And Spanos is a horrendous owner.
That is very true. I didn't think about that aspect of it.
I think that he might go to the Commanders where,
Josh Harris, baby.
Which sounds strange to say because I think Commanders owner, and I immediately think Dan Snyder, and Bill Belichick wouldn't touch that situation with an 89-foot pole.
No, but Josh Harris and the Blitzer organization, again, from being a Devils fan and someone who is relatively close to the 76ers and seeing how their fandom's been going, like, they are very much in the analytics. They're willing to put the money where the mouth is. And, if they find insight that says otherwise, they will go and rush after it. I could definitely see that.
AFC South. CJ Stroud is firmly putting his name in the MVP conversation, although he had 3 picks against the Cardinals. He also had a lot of big plays as well. They get the win. Jacksonville just smashing the Titans, who I got to wonder if maybe Vrabel's on the way out in Tennessee, or maybe he, like you mentioned with Saleh, is just kind of on the hot seat going into next year, which I think is a little more likely. Is that a division that's up for grabs? Because I would still lean Jacksonville.
I would lean Jacksonville as well.
I think the better quarterback this season so far has been playing in Houston.
So here's one thing that I have been stewing about, because I've been looking into their stats and analytics and stuff. What's your guys' thoughts on the Houston Texans defense? Because their schedule coming up is not that daunting.
I think that the Texans defense, it's kind of boom or bust. They make a lot of big plays. Like Stingley had a really nice interception. Will Anderson, Jonathan Grenner, they'll make some plays, but they're all like Rondale Moore got behind them. The Buccaneers shredded them. They can give up big plays and make big plays on their own. Kind of like their offense has been at points this season. CJ Stroud is kind of, at least that Arizona game, he's been pretty careful with the football until that Cardinals game, but they've been very boom or bust.
And like I thought they, looking at, because I did rewatch the Cardinals game, and they did put pressure on Kyler Murray, and this is his second game back, if I remember correctly, and there might be some rust on him, but like the over under for the Cardinals Texan game was 48, and that game didn't even eclipse 40. So like, I'm like, the books are thinking that there may be a weaker, both weaker defenses in that game. But like, I think that they could be like a sneaky team where their offense is strong enough to win them games, and their defense is good enough just to keep them in it. And like, it could go down to the wire with it in the Jaguars. Like, I think the Jaguars are in the lead to win that division, being a game up, and I think they have the better defense of the two. But I think that Houston has the weapons to at least, like, I could see them winning a playoff game this year. And again, according to the schedules, Jacksonville has they have this upcoming week's the Texans. The Bengals are probably going to win. The Browns, who knows with how they've been playing. Then you have the Ravens and the Buccaneers, which are, I think the Buccaneers are still a fine team. They can still compete. And then, again, Panthers, Titans, they should win those games. Houston, they have Jaguars, the Broncos, who knows. Then you have Jets, Titans. Oh, wow, that's a close throw.
I know you saw that. That was a game-winning touchdown that the Chiefs just dropped.
Yep. So Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts. Like, I think that the path, the Texans defense can do a lot better against those matchups. Like, I would not shock me the Texans actually take the division compared to Jacksonville. But I think they're both playoff teams. I think they both can make the playoffs, and I'm actually excited. I have been low key rooting for Houston all season, and I am very happy to see that they are not a team that's not on the bottom of the barrel anymore. After all the shit they went through, good. I'm happy for them.
They're proof when I say that it doesn't need to be an 87-year process. You just got to get the right coach, the right quarterback. And yes, the Texans have had a lot of down years, so this is by no means an overnight type thing. But they were also smart in that they didn't reach for a quarterback in the 2022 draft. And that was a bad quarterback draft. They didn't take Pickett. They didn't take Ritter. They didn't take Willis. They didn't take Corral, who I'm not even sure if he's still in the league anymore. And they waited. They got their guy Stroud. They moved up while they still had the opportunity, got Will Anderson, and they got the right head coach in the door. And they have something that it looks like they're going to be set up for a long time. So good for the Texans. I don't know if they're a playoff team right now, but I think right now I think they get in, but I don't think that they win a playoff game. I still think that one of the Steelers or Browns, I just can't imagine both of those teams getting in. I refuse it on principle. The Bills have to get in over one of those two.
So let's talk about this then. So who would you knock out of the current, 7 teams in the playoffs, correct? So who would you knock out of the 3 wild cards? The Browns, the Texans, or the Steelers?
I look at that schedule and I find it so hard to knock the Steelers out. But
I look at the Texans schedule. I think it's harder not to like the Texans schedule. The Texans out.
Yeah.
Like,
what's it?
And I look at the Browns schedule. I think it's hard to knock the Browns out.
Does anyone play tough teams right now?
Like, there will be some nice matchups coming up. Like the Browns, like, they have the Rams, they have the Jaguars, the Bears have been playing well. They have the Broncos. Okay, let's talk about the Broncos. They are the one team that I've been really intrigued because they're not out of the hunt either. They've been playing good and beating good teams. Their defense has woken up. Their offense is playing good. Even with
Russell Wilson,
Jamal Williams,
like really conservative football.
I was wondering if you were going to go with good, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd go better.
No. Yeah, he's been playing better, and he's been doing enough to score. And he definitely is minimizing the turnovers from last year, but yeah, he's playing just like kind of good enough, but very conservative. From what I see.
But the thing is, with the Broncos, he's not to be an all-star. That's the thing, because their defense is that good.
Yeah.
No. They had that one bad game against the Dolphins, but like, if you just remove, like, if you go from week 4 on, they've been playing solid. They've been pretty solid overall. Like, I would say, so the Jets game is the last game they actually had a bad game, would say. Chiefs, they locked it down. 19 points against the Chiefs, 17 against the Packers, 9 against the Chiefs, 22 against the Bills, 20 against the Vikings. The Vikings, you can put an asterisk on it because of the fact that, like, the hurt to Cousins and Dobbs came in. But still, like, they are competing. They are making plays. Like, they people after the Dolphins game, everybody was writing them out. This is another bad year for the Broncos. Burn it up, light up on fire. What I'm seeing now is a team that, again, Russell Wilson isn't laying the world on fire. He's not cooking. He's just throwing things in the microwave and just heating it up. It's just instant meals. And guess what? It's working for them.
Instant meals. I mean, it's
All
actually
right, so the game.
It's actually a good analogy because that's exactly what it's like.
Just throwing in the microwave. He's not playing with a wok, cooking like he used to in Seattle. All he's doing is taking the microwavable Trader Joe's out of the freezer, putting it in the microwave, heating up after 5 minutes, and then look, we have a meal. And it's edible.
Damn, you go to Trader Joe's,
and it works.
All right,
it's good,
rich boy. All right,
by the way,
Connor, promise me this.
Yes,
I need you to go to their next game and just be one of those fans that rushes the field and just bring a microwave with you. you get on national TV doing that, I will give you everything I own.
I will spray paint on it. Let Russ cook.
We had let Russ cook. Now we're about to have let Tim boil.
Ooh.
What's Timmy Boyle?
You like it, Connor?
I like that. I like that.
The game has gone final.
I'll bring the pot.
So I feel like we have to talk about it now. Eagles 21, Chiefs 17 in Arrowhead. Jalen Hurts threw for 150 yards, and the Eagles still going to Arrowhead, beat the Chiefs. The story of this game for me, Mahomes is a fantastic quarterback, but they need some receiver to catch the ball. Travis Kelce's a great tight end, one of the best in the history of the National Football League, even though he had a rough game today. He had a fumble, he had a pivotal third down drop, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling dropped a perfectly thrown deep touchdown pass. They had several drops. They absolutely need to go receiver in the draft. And if they don't make the Super Bowl, don't win the Super Bowl, don't get to the AFC Championship game, whatever the course might be, it's going to be because of this receiving core, because Mahomes is good enough, the offensive line is good enough, and the defense is the best that it's been since Mahomes has been there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, like, the trade deadline's already passed, so, like, isn't it? I'm surprised they didn't trade for anyone.
That's what I thought, man. I kept thinking, okay, let's please keep, like, I know that the Bengals wouldn't trade T. Higgins to the Chiefs, but let's keep something like that from happening at the deadline, guys.
I don't know. I mean, they do have Kadarius Toney.
Oh man!
Hey, very impactful in the punt return game today. Very impactful in the punt return game. But when they're your top receiver, receiver, not just catching guy, is Justin Watson. Yeah, I just don't know what you expect Mahomes to do with Justin Watson, and their fourth leading receiver was Mecole Hardman.
Ew.
Couldn't find his way on the field for the Jets. I just don't know what you expect Mahomes to do. I mean, he threw 43 passes and had 177 yards. That is a disgusting stat line for anybody, let alone Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, definitely. Because another thing too is like Rashee Rice was supposed to be, like, him being a rookie this year. Like, a lot of times rookies do bust out their freshman year of playing, and he is all like they only target him 5 times, but like if you're not open, he's not going to target to you. 11 targets for Watson. Wow, that's a lot of targets for him. That's insane.
Yeah. Well, they've spent draft capital on guys that second round on Sky Moore. It hasn't worked. He has not been good. And that was a deep class. They could have got other players. They could have went and got someone like a Tank Dell in this year's class, a Puka Nacua. Even someone like a Josh Downs that can win in the slot would have been really helpful for them. Or Jaden Reed, who was making big plays for the Packers yesterday. I just don't know how the Chiefs... You're going to need big plays to win. And, double team Kelce and make the receivers beat you. Just completely bracket Kelce and make Mahomes go somewhere else. I mean, I can see the Ravens knocking this team off.
No, I could see that too. I'm just really intrigued by the Watson 11 targets.
I'm intrigued by. I'm gonna sound stupid saying this, but like a team with a defense like the Browns playing the Chiefs. You think they can't take away Travis Kelce and make Mahomes stay in the pocket and not run around, do a bunch of crazy stuff?
That'd be
Make
like
the receiver like it. I could see the Browns might not score much, but they can kind of keep the Chiefs in check.
like I can definitely see like that being like a Chiefs 13 Browns 12 game. Just like stupidly tight. There's this one great play that Mahomes makes to get that one score they need, and this field goals. Yeah,
Do you think the Jets have had drop problems? The Chiefs lead the NFL with 26 drops.
I'm not surprised. I'm looking through Watson's stats right now
because like, you're really hung up on Justin Watson.
I have fantasy brain, man.
Waiver wire pickup.
that's
I just lost my first game
because his past 5 games. And that's the thing with the Chiefs. Like I wouldn't pick him up because of the fact that I have one deep league that I might, but like the thing with the Chiefs is it's Russian roulette of who is the receiver to pick because you can't trust any single one of them. Watson targets 1-3, 1-3, 5 against the Dolphins, and then 11 this week. That's insane. Damn, yeah, Chiefs.
That is quite the jump up.
Well, they had a lot of retooling to do on the defensive end. They've got a lot of talent on the defense. The offensive line's good. Now they have one glaring area of need because they've kind of just been in the whole we can neglect our receivers because we know that our quarterback will elevate everybody. They won the Super Bowl last year with Juju Smith-Schuster as their number 1 wide receiver, and I bet a lot of you forgot that he existed because he's done nothing in New England this year.
I know Juju.
So, Mac Jones has also been.
Well, yeah, I know it's a completely different situation, but like he hasn't exactly been memorable on his own.
No, not at all.
So they've been in the boat of we can just get bodies, and Mahomes will turn them into respectable receivers. And it doesn't really work like that all the time.
Oh, it's up at the NFC.
I'm not saying you need Tyreek Hill necessarily, but yes, the NFC.
Yes,
Brock Purdy and Jared Goff. Goff played terribly yesterday, but the Lions still found a way to win. I love this Lions team so much. And I also love the Niners when Purdy can just dissect the defense. He's back. The last 2 games, he's played very, very well. And the defense with Chase Young and Nick Bosa on the edge, going to make things tough for opposing offensive lines and quarterbacks.
Getting Chase Young for that 49ers team was just like a chef's kiss, cherry on the top. That was, I don't know what John Lynch did to pull that off, but that's off to him.
Connor, do you have a NFC team that you're dying to talk about?
To be honest, the whole NFC South.
Why do we have to talk about them? Half of them didn't even play this week.
Because the fact I'm looking through right now, I was like, are we going to see another NFC South team make the playoffs under 500?
The Saints are the only hope we have of that not happening.
Yeah, they really are. But like,
because Desmond Ridder is going to be starting again, and like I said, Heineke was not good.
Dude, I want to see Arthur Smith should be fired. He is ruining that team. For the Falcons, that is.
He's in the same. He came in the same year as Saleh, and I feel like if they don't win, he'll at least be on the hot seat at a minimum.
But he's been making he's been making worse decisions than Saleh though. That's the thing with Arthur Smith.
Is that he's coach in that's in their 3rd year is going to be compared to Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell came in and inherited probably the worst situation of all of those coaches that haven't been fired already. You know, Texans have gone through like 3 coaches in that time span. And Dan Campbell has made the Lions a winner. The Falcons and Jets are 2 teams that are like, okay. So the Falcons, yeah, they probably want, especially with this division, hey, why aren't we a 9-10 win team at least right now?
Like, the thing with the Falcons is that every game that they have lost, they have been within relatively one score. Cardinals, Vikings, Titans, all one-score games that they should have won, but based on play calling and Arthur Smith's decision making, like, let Bijan do his thing. I think that Ritter's been fine as a quarter. I know the other guy has been playing, but like, I think that he's been playing that he's too worried about because again, as someone who deals with fantasy, like, he's too worried about the opposite of everybody else thinks. It's just do your thing. No, make decisions that are smart. Like, and I think that he's just in his own head, and it's causing this team, a good Falcons team, in my opinion, a chance for the playoffs.
Yeah,
like they should be they should be the Commanders. They should be the Titans. They lost to the Vikings with a Josh Dobbs team that was his very first time. Literally was flown in 2 days beforehand, and got torn up, and lost to a Cardinals team, which is Kyler Murray's first game back. Like, it would not shock me if the Falcons lost to the Jets, and that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I could see, because I just don't think the Falcons are going to be able to score on them.
Yeah,
and I think that Ritter might throw 5 picks in that game. That might be a game where Arthur Smith says, we are running the triple option. we aren't throwing the ball.
I mean, they might as well.
He's a silver line. He's a silver line. Like, oops, sorry, Izzo. He's just so reliant, like, on Algier, and like, why? This is the 3rd year in a row. Why isn't Kyle Pitts getting the ball more? Why aren't you setting up plays to get Drake London, a superstar wide receiver, routes that can get the ball in his hands? Like, there's been plenty of games where Drake London had, like, 4 targets in a game.
Yeah,
like, that's unexcusable when you're superstar talents, when you're as if I was the GM of the Falcons, I'd be so annoyed that I'm spending this draft capital on these superstar players, and we're not putting the ball in their hands to actually make a difference. Like, why waste that?
I'll leave you guys with this, because we've gone pretty long with this. I just saw a stat that blew my mind. It's kind of returning to the Chiefs-Eagles game. The Chiefs have now been shut out in the second half in 3 consecutive games.
Damn.
Really?
The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Because remember, they didn't score in the second half on your Dolphins, Tommy. They got all their points. Buddy. They got all the points in the first half. They didn't score tonight, and they didn't score at all in the Broncos in the second half. So they have not scored a second half point since October 22nd.
Wow.
It's been, when they play, it'll have been over a month since they've scored a second half touchdown.
Wow.
Or second half point, period. Even a second half field goal.
Even the Giants did that. So does that mean they're better than the Chiefs?
Even the Jets did that.
Is that how that works, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Tommy DeVito and Zach Wilson, they're they're better than Mahomes, I guess.
Oh,
God, that is a stat that I just could not ignore. I had to bring that up because
I didn't even.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, have not scored a second half point since October 22nd.
That is nuts.
You'd think a measly like a field goal would be there.
Yeah.
And as a top contender for playoffs, that's kind of surprising to see.
Did this game knock them down a peg for any of you? Or just
not necessarily. I mean, the Eagles just can't seem to take a loss this season. And I don't know why. I mean, from the little bit I actually get to watch.
Yeah, that's a Who would have thought?
Everybody but Zach Wilson.
You gotta have that caveat in there.
That is a very important caveat to throw in there, which it just makes no sense because the Eagles are good, but they just never seem to look good when they play.
They're very
unless that's just
winning is winning.
Yeah, I mean,
winning is winning. Absolutely.
You know,
I just don't know how they seem to keep
ball club. It seems.
And no, the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the real deal. Like they keep winning because of the fact that their offense is doing enough. They're scoring enough to win, and their defense has been suspect. But overall, they are doing their jobs. Like I thought the game against the Cowboys last week, they looked pretty competent. Like Cowboys are finally letting Dak Prescott launch the ball again, which is nice to see. And the Eagles are able to keep the game close. No, there has been 3 games so far that gave up more than 30 points. If I am an Eagles fan, I am very happy with that, with how suspect their secondary has looked this season. Because I can feel comfortable that my offense is going to outscore my defense no matter what. And Hurts is Hurts has been very clutch this year. And honestly, that's all we can ask for.
Hurts has been clutch, and they have the offensive line. At least in most games, Chiefs are getting back there in the first half, where they can keep him upright and allow him to scramble around and make things happen. I'm just impressed that they were able to win a game on the road in Kansas City, where A.J. Brown had 1 catch for 8 yards.
Yeah, I had to say, after the first half was done, I thought it was a Chiefs game.
I thought the Chiefs defense was just going to cruise. I'm like, okay, Mahomes, you can just keep giving the ball to Pacheco. Kind of an easy night. And the Chiefs kind of just let them hang around. They like I mentioned with the Dolphins, the Chiefs didn't have that knockout blow. And then the Eagles did. And the Chiefs, Mahomes gave them an opportunity to respond. He put it right on the money, and MVS just dropped it. We saw that earlier this weekend with Quentin Johnston as well with the Chargers.
Like this is the 3rd straight week that the Eagles were down going into halftime.
Yep.
And they pulled out. It's honestly it could be their halftime adjustments too.
Of their season, they've got Bills, 49ers, and Cowboys coming up. So they've got a couple of tough games that I think they can pull through. But I think 49ers might have the best chance of knocking them down a peg. That's just my opinion.
The NFC is more interesting to me right now than the AFC, because the AFC, everyone's either hurt or just they have a glaring flaw that just gets me to where I can't really pick them to beat the Chiefs. But the thing that would be the most interesting to me, what if Dallas shows up this January?
No.
I knew Nick was going to be the first one to respond since you're a Giants fan.
Yeah, Cowboys and Eagles were close last week.
But the regular season Cowboys and playoff Cowboys are 2 completely different things. Regular season McCarthy and playoff McCarthy. Or you don't just have Cowboys. You have Cowboys and McCarthy going right now.
So you're saying the Cowboys have more of a microwave regular season walk playoff season kind of game?
It's so
McCarthyism has not worked for the Cowboys. But like,
history joke, I like that.
What if just once? What if they were just because they beat you beat the Bucks last year. The divisional round has the Cowboys have been able to get past that with Romo. They've been able to get past that with Prescott. Their big hiccup has been the divisional round. Whether it's because they've had a bye and just haven't been able to beat teams like the Giants in 2007, or the Packers in 2016, or in 2014, or the Rams in 2018, or the 49ers last year. You can never predict because the playoff Cowboys, the playoff Dak, and the playoff McCarthy are very different than the regular season. If they can show up, it'll be so interesting because you have 4 teams that are all legitimate contenders.
I am on the Izzo side here, and I will say they will not show up. The reason being is that when push comes to shove against good teams, they have not performed. Like, let's talk about playoff teams this year that they played against. We ignore the Cardinals because they lost to them. But 49ers, loss. Eagles, loss. That was the only 2 playoff teams they played so far this year. Like, that's it. Everybody else has been the Giants, the Jets, Cardinals, Patriots, Chargers, Rams. No, I think it's the Rams without Stafford too. Giants again, and then Panthers. They haven't played nobody this year. Like, that is a very weak schedule coming in.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Commies this week, upcoming week, and then you have actual playoff teams they're playing against. Seahawks, I'll say it's a coin flip. We'll see how injury-wise they are. Then you have the Eagles again, then the Bills, then the Dolphins, then the Lions. Those 4 games are determined, to me, would say, are you a contender? Because if you can't win half of those games, of those 4, they ain't going to do anything. If they win 1 or 4, they ain't going deep.
My thing with them is just I can't trust anything that I see in the regular season as fact. I can't trust it in the postseason before I can believe it.
I can't trust their offense right now. That's the issue I'm having. Even with Dak going off, and like I like to see them have Dak through the ball to CeeDee Lamb because I think those 2 are the ones that will create the opportunities for them. But on the flip side, if your offense can't beat legitimately good defenses, you don't belong in the playoffs. Like you won't go far. And they have not faced anyone that can either sling it like they can, or have a defense that can really stop them. Other than the 49ers and the Eagles so far. That's it.
Yeah, like you mentioned, their December is going to be fascinating. Cowboys, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. All teams that can keep up with them on the scoreboard offensively.
Like, if Lions, Cowboys were this upcoming week, who would you pick? And would say Cowboys were home.
Yeah, because that's what it's going to be for that Monday night game.
If the next game was,
I'd probably pick the Cowboys to win that game.
I think it'd be a coin toss.
It's close. I'm not like a definite Cowboys. I think it's going to be close. I just think that they'll be able to force some Goff turnovers. Goff kind of showed against Chicago that he's more than willing to give the ball to the other team. And Dallas, Deron Bland has been a turnover machine this year, and they're able to get pressure on anybody. So I think that they'd be able to force some mistakes.
But if it was flipped and it was in the Dome in Detroit, would they think that line change? Because right now they're a wild card change.
I think it would change as well. I still have my concerns with Goff against that type of team. Now, that offensive line gives him more protection than most would. It's a very good offensive line, but whenever you play a team that has Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, they're going to get some pressure. And the Eagles have a myriad of guys that they can bring pressure with. And the 49ers, obviously with Bosa and Chase Young. That's my bigger concern with the Lions is we know that Jared Goff is a quarterback that struggles under pressure.
He definitely does, but one thing that the Lions does have going for them, which is nice to see now, is that their run game is fantastic.
Oh, the 1-2 punch of Gibbs and Montgomery is incredible. Now that they're actually using Gibbs,
because they are such a good change of pace kind of players too. Where if you want to go, I'm going to hammer you hard. Monty is great at doing that, but if you want to go more finesse and like more explosion, Gibbs could do that too. And I think like honestly, even if it was Dallas -3, if Dallas was home, I would still pick the Lions because I think that their defense is good enough to keep them close. And I think the Lions can, even when they had that crappy game against the Bears, Justin Fields is still a good quarterback, and they still kept him in this game, and they found a way. No, you're just talking about the Lions head coach. No, he's changed the culture in that team, that locker room, to where
it's not just lip service with him. You hear that word, culture changer, and a lot of times it's kind of just bullshit. It's not really something that actually with him, it's the real deal. It's legitimate, like what every GM owner wants when they make a head coaching hire.
It's like so. For those who don't know, I used to coach hockey, and something that I've experienced as a coach is like different coaching strategies, and like there's some that work with certain players, and if you sometimes when you have a coach who is like Dan Campbell, who is like, I will chew glass and spit it in your face just to spite you, kind of coach. Like sometimes that can fire up teams, and the Lions have taken on that identity that Campbell has, and it is such a fun, and it can really change the mentality of that locker room. It really does, because 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, when the Lions were down in that situation against the Bears, they would have folded. But now you're seeing a team that actually has a fight, that has the grit to go back and win games like that.
They had to learn how to win, and they did, and now they're finishing games, and they have the run game to be able to do it. That's something that, they have the run game to be able to do it. When they need to throw, they can. They have receivers. Amon-Ra. Laporta's been good, and Gibbs out of the backfield is going to be one of the most explosive pass catchers we've seen. I know a lot of people were hating on that pick after the draft, and a lot of people were hating on that pick the first few weeks of the season when they weren't using him as much. But let me tell you, that's a guy that you want to have come playoff time. It's going to be Kamara Ingram. When the Saints first drafted Kamara, and Mark Ingram was also there.
Kingram, baby. Oh, I loved him so much.
That was such a fantastic 1-2 combo. And it doesn't have the same return of that, but I think that's the type of ceiling that we have with this duo.
It's the identity they have, is that kind of look.
All right, well, I think that wraps things up. Fun night catching up NFL action. Guys, I know we're going to be talking some Stranger Things here soon, but as far as football goes, enjoy Thanksgiving. I don't think any of the games are out of this world, but they're not horrible either. And enjoy the Black Friday football, I guess.
Enjoy is a strong word.
That's the game I'm looking forward to.
Oh, shut up, you.
Want any bets there, Tommy?
Look, historically, the Jets have usually been an upset for the Dolphins. So I
keep it in the history books because I don't think it's happening.
I don't know.
You're 9.5-point favorites in MetLife Stadium.
Probably more in like a week or in 2 days.
Yeah, after everyone just bets on Tim Boyle or against Tim Boyle. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that, and you shouldn't be either. Maybe you, Tommy, but I don't do this for you. So
I'll just gloat. I'll just gloat a tiny bit next week.
Oh, gloat as much as you want, man.
Yeah, no one's gonna stop you from that. I might mute the group chat during that game.
Oh, I'll call you. I'll find ways.
For Connor Vandermark, Nick Izzo, and Tommy Grant, I'm Mitchell Lee. You've been listening to the weekly Recess, the Jersey Nerds podcast.